Welcome back to Sadlier Connect, My Library. So right now we'll focus on My Library, which is essentially where you would assign students work from. So I'm going to click on My Library and I'm going to choose the book that I'll be using with my class, which for right now will be grade level 3. After picking the book, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to actually hop into Unit 1. And so after I hop into the unit, you'll see I have some options here and I'm going to drill down to lesson. And essentially, that's where you'll want to be most of the time when you are assigning students assignments from Sadlier Connect. It's in the lesson. After I click on the lesson, you'll notice I have some instructional resources and then I have some interactive instructional resources. The instructional resources, of course, will be the things that you typically use for instruction. So say, for example, you wanted to send some word cards home with the students. Instead of printing them, you could assign them, and then that way students can go through their Sadlier Connect and be able to access the word cards. The instructional resources can be assigned to anyone. So once you get in, it'll automatically give you the name. You'll just click here and pick your class. It'll give you a start date, end date. You can add an additional grace period for a turn-in time. It'll already put the lesson here. Everything essentially you need. If you want to put additional directions, you can put additional directions here. So they'll show you your student list and you have two options here. And I'm just going to go through and show this concerning the save and share to Google. So read the cards and practice saying the words out loud. So if you wanted students to mark up on something that you sent, you could click require submission of annotations, which essentially means it will give the student a submit button so that it comes back to you as an assignment done. Right now, once the student opens it, it'll essentially be a complete or incomplete grade. They open it, it'll be complete. If they never open it, it'll be incomplete. Okay, so I have an option here to save it. If I click on save, what it's going to do is it's going to save only in Sadlier Connect. What that means is the student will have to go directly to Sadlier Connect to access the work. However, if I click on save and share to Google, it's going to save it both in Sadlier Connect as well as post it to Google. Okay, so I'm going to just jump to my Google Classroom so that you can see what happened. And so here's that lesson that I just created. Word cards, and we'll see it's on my Google Classroom. Now I'm going to jump back to Sadlier. I'm going to choose another instructional resource and let me do the word building cards. And this time, I'm actually going to say save to Sadlier only. And so when I hit save, it's saved. I'm going to jump to my Google Classroom. And what you're going to notice is, jump back to classwork, that assignment did not come here. And it's because I chose for it only to save on Sadlier. So again, what a student would need to do is go directly to Sadlier to see that assignment. I'm actually going to pull a student over so you can see what that looks like as well. So let me grab my student screen. Okay, so here's my student screen. Here are the two assignments that I posted, or the one assignment, the word assignment that I posted in Google Classroom. So I see it on their stream. I also see it here. They can click on it. And ironically enough, when they click on it, it actually is just going to throw them back into Sadlier. If you've written any instructions, this is where the instructions will show up. So for my instructions, I said read the cards and practice saying the words out loud. They'll see them here. Okay, so now I have two icons, one here for information and one here to submit my work. If I had chosen for them to annotate this, they would have an additional option that will have the annotations pop up here. Once the student opens this, we will assume that they read it all, and the only thing they'll need to do is go ahead and click on the submit to submit their work. Once they submit it, they get the grade for completing the work. They don't have to mark anything because we did not ask them to annotate. So that is the one example. Now the other example, remember, I actually did not put on my Google Classroom. So therefore the student would not be able to access it from Google Classroom. So how would they access the work? So the way they will access it is they will go to their Gmail account or Google account, and they will access Sadlier Connect essentially the same way that we do. Now you'll notice here are my picture cards that I opened just a few moments ago. That's another assignment that I gave, and here is the word building. That didn't show up on Google Classroom, but because I clicked save, it saves only on Sadlier. So I would suggest, as a teacher, whatever you feel comfortable using that. If you're going to have your students go directly here and students are not using Google Classroom, then you can just use save. However, if your students are typically going through Google Classroom, then it makes sense to actually post it to Google Classroom just to kind of keep a running record. Again, either way, it will throw them in here. But remember, when it threw them in here from Google Classroom, it throws them right into the assignment. So they may not necessarily see if they have something else due if you're not always doing it the same way. So I would say pick one way or the other. You're either going to assign just straight to Sadlier and kids are going there, or you're going to assign directly to Google Classroom and students are going there so that it doesn't get confusing. Okay. So now I'm going to jump back to my library, which is what we're talking about right now, how to assign students assignments. I'm going to jump back to Unit 1, and I'm going to jump back to Lesson 3. So we assigned a few instructional resources. However, when you get down to the interactive resources, students have to have licensing attached to their accounts in order to be able to use the interactive resources. So I'm going to jump down to the sorted out. And what is this? I'm going to click here so I can see exactly what it is. Oh yeah, this is exactly what I want them to be able to do, to sort out whatever information I need them to sort. Okay. And I'm going to go back. And so here we go, sort it out. This is what I'm going to assign. You also have a preview button too that you can click on to see what it looks like. This just actually gives you that actual interaction so you can see what they'll be doing. It's also a great way to demonstrate in class how to use a resource or how to complete an assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and click on assign. I'm going to go ahead and pick my class, and you're going to notice something yellow popped up on the screen here. And it says, not all students in class have the licenses applied to their accounts for this product and will not be listed below. So when I scroll down below, I'll see I have no students because no students have the license applied. And so when this happens, unfortunately, what you will need to do is actually contact me. Now, Sadlier Connect actually has it where you could assign licensing, but for some reason, their website is not working. And so as the administrator, I have to add those student licensings on. And so after you contact me, I'll attach the licensing and you'll be able to assign any of the interactive resources as well. And so we'll jump back to this so that you can see how that works as well once that licensing is assigned. So I'm going to jump back to my library. I'm going to go back to 3, jump back to Unit 1, jump back to Lesson 3. And what Sadlier Connect has done is they have given you an option to reorganize this by days. So you're not looking at so much content and you're not trying to figure out what should you be doing on this day. So say, for example, you're using a 5-day plan and you only want to focus on that day that you're working in. So instead of just seeing all the instructional resources and all the interactive resources for Lesson 3, I'm going to choose day 3, and I see day 3 we're focusing on long O. So I still have all my instructional resources. However, my interactive resources may have changed depending. So let's jump to day one. All right, so I have one less interactive resource there. And so let's jump to day 5. Okay, and same thing. You may also notice that the videos may change as well, depending on what you're looking at, which day you're looking at. So this is kind of their way of trying to make the website more useful for you as a teacher to actually be able to find information by day as opposed to having to look at every single thing and try to figure out which things should I actually be doing on this day. Okay, back to my library. I'm going to jump back to 3. I'm going to jump back to Unit 1, Lesson 3, and I'm just taking some time to go ahead and assign myself the licensing so that we can see what happens after the licensing is installed or given to students. Now you can assign those those interactive resources. Okay, so I'm actually going to work with the sorted out. I'm going to go ahead and assign that. I'm going to, again, so in order to assign it, I'm going to click on sort it out. And you'll notice here that you have some options. If you're not sure about how to work with this, you can click on the help and it'll give you some instructions. You also can add titles here. And when you add titles here, that will actually show up in the assignment that you created for them. So you'll notice here that it says open sort. You can actually choose closed sort as well. And then it'll give you this option to assign to the students. You'll also notice in this open sort, it gives me the option to add in some boxes as well. And so maybe if I was doing OW focus today, O, and maybe OE, then I can leave some examples here for them. And once I click on back, essentially what will happen is when I go to assign it, it's going to look like whatever I put over here. And so for this example, I'm actually going to go ahead and do a close sort. And I'm going to click on back. And I'm going to go ahead and assign it to my student, just as I would any other time. And now that I've assigned it, of course, pick my class, date, everything. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on Save and Share to Google Classroom. So I'll notice now that I've assigned it. When they go to click on the lesson sort it out, they'll click on it. They'll see the directions that I wrote, which were complete the closed sort. And then they will have the opportunity to actually complete it here. Let me try to actually get some right. Then I'm going to go ahead and submit that assignment as if I was a student, just so that I can see on my side what those assignments look like once they're submitted. So I hope this was helpful in understanding how to use my library, how to locate and assign assignments from instructional resources and from interactive resources.